All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the newly dubbed Big Crypto Radio. We're gonna go with that and see how we like that name for a while and see if that kind of
Yeah,
sticks.
let's see what
Um,
catches on.
but cool. We're here with another awesome guest today. We have Flu here from Son Sound, which is a disruptor to the music industry, plus a whole lot of other things. They've got their three pillars of Son Sound that we want to dive into with you guys today. Really dive into where this fits into the music world and how they're incorporating all of the Web3 technology into the music world to really disrupt things and kind of give the power back to the creators instead of giving the power to the record labels and all that stuff there. And they're doing a lot of unique things by leveraging the latest in technology like ZK Tech and soul binding tokens with NFTs, and really taking all the amazing things about Web3 and bringing it all together into creating this incredible project that they have that's very new, that's still kind of on the ground floor. But I'm really excited to see where they're going to go with things. I want to start off by introing you, my man. You've been part of all kinds of things. You're part of the Harmony team. You're part of the DeFi Kingdoms team. You've done all kinds of things, and now you're with Son Sound. And but first, I want to ask you, where's the name Flu come from?
So a long time ago, I think it was like swine flu, and I
Oh
put
no.
out some ads on Craigslist that were like, I'm gonna do your shopping for you. I'm gonna bring everything back. I'm gonna wear a mask. I'm gonna be safe, and I'm going to do all your errands for you because people were scared to leave their houses. And so I charged for this, and I made a good amount in like a couple weeks. And people were mad at me and they were like yelling at me and saying that I was profiteering off of the flu. So I named myself on like Xbox, PlayStation, everything, the Flu Pirate. And then whenever I stepped into Web3 full time back in like 2019 on BSC, um, I'd been involved like loosely since like 2013, but like career really started in like 2019. And whenever I stepped in there, I noticed that a lot of the successful personalities and everything had like one word names. And so I was like, I need to just shorten it down to just flu. And now like I can just be like, it's because I make shit go viral, which is usually what I say whenever people ask me.
Okay. That's a lot quicker of an answer to give people if you're kind of like just got to be quick with it.
Yeah,
I'm
just
thinking of renaming myself to Vid now because it's like COVID and video. So you just gave me some information right now.
Okay,
good, man.
cool. All right. So, Flu, you've got two other founders with you, Devin and Kaku. Can you tell us a little bit more about them real quick as well?
So Kaku is actually the main like visionary founder, and he's the person that everything kind of came from. And he was like, I really want like my own headphones. I want my own sort of audio hardware. And he's besties with a dude that could make that happen, which is David Lung. And he's like the ex one of the ex founders, or sorry, the original founders of Beats by Dre. He actually invented the primary audio driver that was used in Beats, Apple, and Monster headphones. He was the director of headphone development over there at Monster for like 11 years. So they really like started it, and then they brought in I'm Complex and Crow, and those four really like formed the basis that everyone else kind of came in under. Um, and which is to include Devin, myself, Will, Catalina, all of which were brought in for like our different talents. So it was kind
Mm-hmm.
of like a grab bag after that. But Kaku is a touring DJ. He's open for Ultra. He's open for Heineken events. He's an actively touring DJ, and he performs a lot. He's a really good dude, and he just wants artists to be able to have the power to like make their own decisions, make their own careers.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. So, I want to give a quick little intro of San Sound for anybody that hasn't really heard of them. For starters, San is the Japanese number three, which is a reoccurring theme that you hear throughout everything that San Sound is really doing. So San Sound is dedicated to promoting creative expression and authenticity. They believe an artist's commercial success should not come from the stigma of selling out, and they're holding space for artists to maintain musical integrity without external pressure. Meanwhile, allowing artists to support and influence their favorite artist growth, San is setting out to uproot an antiquated industry and to prove that fans and artists are symbiotic. So now there is 3 different pillars to San Sound, right? So the pillars are the musical platform, which I'm assuming is kind of looking to compete with something like Spotify or like fit in somewhere that Spotify isn't quite fitting into at the moment. We'll kind of dive into that a little bit. And then you have the actual hardware. So the Soundware is what you guys are calling it, which are the headphones, which you actually have with you right now.
Yeah.
And then there's the event side of things. So that's like the charger case, kind of like AirPods, right? And they plug into the side, super futuristic looking. So I've got some specific questions about that I want to dive into. But for starters, I kind of want to go through like how I discovered this real quick, because I think it's pretty cool, right? So
Sure.
I found out about San Sound because of the 10KTF community. I'm pretty deep in the 10KTF community. I've met a lot of the different people. I've met Beeple and all that stuff there. And I just found out about it through there. So I'm kind of curious what your guys' ties are with that, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So I dove in, heard about this free mint, which was going on with your initial, like the free mint that you can then soul bind to get access to the music platform. And then did that, didn't really think too much about it or anything. And then my friend Crypto Dilly, he said, cool, so I'm in the San Sound, Discord, told them that I'm going to Decentral, and they said that they could get us some free tickets for anybody that's holding, the San Sound NFT. So then I reached out and Proof was like, hey, yeah, I can get you some free tickets. So they got me like an $800 ticket to Decentral completely for free for holding a free mint. Right. So like I didn't even pay for the NFT to begin with. And then they just gave me an $800 ticket to go to a crypto event, which I thought was really cool. And that kind of told me there's more to this than just a typical free mint. Right. So,
Yeah.
so
we have some large networks, right? I as a former layer 1 employee myself, and Devin also is from Harmony. He was actually higher up there than I was, and he has a really large network. I have a large network. Proof, whenever he has a large network. All of us do, basically, because we've all been doing this professionally for some time. So all of the people, like I said earlier, it was a grab bag, and we tried to pick like the most experienced or whatever in their respective fields. So it's very much a thing of just it's who it's who you can convince to get you whatever. And we just really wanted to give something back to our holders. We're going to be doing similar stuff for ETH Denver. So like whenever you're on the ground in ETH Denver, find one of us and just pal around with us, and we'll probably be able to make some stuff happen.
Okay, cool. So I want to go ahead and dive into this NFT real quick, and I want to share my screen. I got my free NFT mint, and upon looking into things, it looks like to get access to the platform that you guys are building out, you have to soul bind your NFT. Now, with this Big Crypto Radio, we put a big emphasis on making sure everything is easy for even the most, newbie crypto investor to really understand. So for those of you that aren't aware, soul binding is the process of literally tying an NFT to your wallet so it can never leave, right? So you can't sell it, you can't trade it to anybody else. It is stuck with that wallet that you soul bind it to for life, which in order to gain access to the music platform, you have to soul bind. So if I actually click this right here to soul bind my NFT that I got, let me switch to the ETH mainnet real quick. That would be helpful.
And there's going to be other ways in the ecosystem going forward. Like there's going to be trial accounts with like an invite system that's similar to what it used to be for. Now I can't even remember the name of that old social app that everyone used to be on. I was never cool enough for it.
MySpace?
No, I was on MySpace. I'm old. I wasn't cool, so I forget what that one was called. The one that everyone used before Twitter. It's where like
i5, maybe.
Man, we're gonna figure it out. I'll tell you that.
Well, we'll keep thinking on it, and when it pops up, just let us know. So this is the process of going through the soul binding process here. So you click soul bound, and then you choose the NFT that you actually want to soulbind. So here's the 3 that I have here. Any of them that you like more than others, Flu?
So that one in the middle has gold tokens, which means you get like a token bonus. That one on the left looks like that might be a camo background. Is that correct?
I
I can't actually see that well. And then the one on the right is the croc. And I can't think of. Oh wait, it's a croc, but with an insert coin for the inner trait. Which means that, and you can actually see that 2 ways. You can see the player one icon in the bottom left, or you could look at the coin, and that one will actually give you a increased earning rate whenever you're playing any of the games that have our future integration in it. So you'll actually have like a bonus multiplier to the amount of tokens that you would earn while playing Web3 games that have our system in place.
incredible. Okay.
That's awesome.
So now we
Well
won't
said.
dive into all of the different details about all the different characteristics about all the NFTs that they have, but I wanted to at least dive into that a little bit so you guys see the depth at which they really went through in order to give you guys as much like different options with these different NFTs that they really put a lot of detail into everything that goes into this project. So basically you click the NFT that you want to soul bind and you click continue. And now this is very interesting because now you're paying to soulbind, right? So they do a free mint that they can then make money off of the transactions of that free mint, which then lowers the barrier to entry to get you into the ecosystem to learn about it. And then you actually have to pay to soulbind your token to get access to the benefits of having that NFT, which is almost like, and correct me if I'm wrong, if this is kind of like the method that you're going with, it kind of reminded me of how the App Store has evolved to where you used to pay to get apps, but then what they did was they decided let's decrease the barrier to entry and make the apps free and then have a pay to play version inside of the app. Is that kind of like what you guys were going with there?
It's kind of like that, but the main problem that we wanted to solve for it, and we kind of did things reverse as to most. Most do the PFP project first, the head-on PFP project first. It's lower supply, high price, and it's for like to start off this exclusive ecosystem. We didn't really want to go about it that way because we already had a high price point that was planned, and so we wanted to make that as accessible as possible. And so we went with a free mint instead because we were already going to be taking that money with the soul binding. And one thing that we really like misjudged a little bit is just how many people would just write it off because it was a free mint and then never look back at it, or they would flip it, and they like a lot of people flipped it at like 0.05, 0.06, 0.1, whatever, and then they just kind of left and never looked back. Whenever the whole goal was to like get people to stay around and like pay into the ecosystem, because that's the exclusive bit, right? We still have the PFP coming out, we still have everything else, but now the way that we're going to be structuring it is those people that are here early, those people who were here early and soulbound early and like supported us early and went in on everything, like that's like a lifetime arrangement. And that's really why the soul binding part is that if you've paid into this ecosystem, we have a responsibility to you to actually like make sure that that was worth it for you, like no matter at what point that you soulbound or whatever. And then the same thing is true of the people who came in, bought in, and wanted to hold. So we have to find that interesting balance of like, how do we return value to holders, to collectors, to people who really like Crow's art, and to people who are like, oh my god, this platform is going to be the replacement to Pandora or whatever, and just kind of go from there. And so that's been the focus, and that's why we did the free mint model with this. But our PFP mint is going to be very, very different, and it's going to, I think, kind of really surprise people the way that we're planning on returning value to all of those different parties.
Cool. So since you're talking about PFP, I want to touch back a little bit on the art, as Ryan was just about to soulbound. What was your inspiration behind the art? Because it seems like from Sound, it has some, Japanese style of art that I noticed, with some like futuristic robotic mechanisms into it. And I did see the little touch-ups with the coins that give you specific rewards or specific outcomes based on which one you bind. So yeah, like what was the inspiration behind all of that?
So Crow is responsible for the creative direction, Crow Magnus.
Okay.
And Crow Magnus and I Am Complex were both from Oniforce, which is a very, very well-known ETH project, also part of, or sorry, it is part of 10KTF. And if you actually look at the earbuds that were in Oniforce, those were actually like initial prototypes of what these could look like. The Son earbuds could look like. So he was already playing with these ideas there. This whole project was about 2 years in the making, before people had ever really heard of it. And so like I'm of the opinion that like the world is very much something that was centered in Cro-Magnus's mind, but did not fully fit in with anything like Oni related. And so like he kind of built it out from there. Imagine this world that he wants to tell, and I'm not going to get too much into the details of that, just because we do have like lore that comes out. We have the comic that has started minting last week. We had that first episode for holders and soulbound and gold holders and soulbound, that I've been really excited about. And I think that y'all minted that, right?
We
Yep.
did both
The
Ryan
Sangha.
and I have minted it. Yep.
Mhm.
And
Awesome.
speaking of comics, I want to touch up a little bit about that. Is there like a story behind it, that people would be excited to read? Like, is there a theme behind it? What was
Yeah,
the
absolutely. There's a bunch of themes that Crow's trying to play with. I mean, like everything from like existentialism to what does it mean to be a creator to, like how can these sort of like distributed systems and decentralized mechanisms like benefit, or how can they hurt humanity going forward? And I think that he tells that story really well. If you go into the Sangha page again, the dashboard, you would go down to the bottom where the actually go to the middle and do continue, and then go down to the bottom where you have the owned ones, and then open that up, and that's how you actually view it. So the front one, that's just the cover, and that cover is going to have 3 different versions every week. But the black and white one, that's for holders. There's a color version for soulbound, and then there's a gold version for gold that are either held or soulbound. And then this is the first panel of the first episode of the Sangha.
Okay. How does
And so
this
there's very much a story here.
Okay. And how does this story relate to the music platform? That we haven't even talked about the music platform yet. We're going to dive into that as well. But like real quick, does it make sense to talk about this right now before we go into the music platform, or will it not make sense until we go for the music platform first?
I think it'll make sense because one thing that I mentioned earlier is that we always want to tie everything back into music and artistry and like the creator's journey, right? And so a lot of what the story is based around art and music. And so it's something that's deeply tied into not only the platform, but also just the experience of just being in the community of San. Something that we do every Thursday is we do a Twitch stream where Kaku plays music, DJs and plays music, and then Cro-Magnus in the background, he does live illustrations every single week. So it's something that we always try to like make sure is all about music, and that's something that will be more clear with the PFP. It's very much like it's going to be the music PFP.
Is there ever any alpha that's leaked in those Twitch streams with the drawings or anything like that?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Last week we had Supreme Wu on, a member of the Wu-Tang Clan, and he actually dropped 2 tracks that he had not even released yet, over with Kaku, and that was a lot of fun. That was a good amount of alpha too, because I mean, we threw up the Wu-Tang logo in the art, like Crow threw that up.
Yeah, I saw I was on that Twitch stream checking it out, doing some due diligence for this podcast and everything. And
working, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Cool. And so would you guys say that you have a pretty good amount of connections in the music industry to kind of make sure that this has a good platform to lift off from?
Yes. but we're not super focused on bringing in like Post Malone or Billie Eilish or any other big star to kind of kick anything off because it's not sustainable. And like it's not something that where if you see like a musician going and they're like, oh, I'm gonna do this one project or whatever, and then they get bored and they go off and they do something else. And so much more important is to build like a community of musicians that feel like this could help them build their career because that's the whole point. And so I'm less concerned about Post Malone and Billie Eilish, and I'm much more concerned about Hertz or Abel Okugawa or A Mike C. Moon or any of the other dozens of Sight Sailor, any of the other dozens of artists that have actually come into our community, have soulbound and are like members of the community and are committed to like seeing this through.
Okay.
Awesome. Let's talk about how this all works. Because you know now we do have NFTs that have just music attached to them that you can buy on OpenSea, and there are other Web3 platforms like Opulus and Audius that aim to do some kind of like competition to SoundCloud and whatnot. But you guys are kind of doing something different where you are directly trying to interact with artists and fans. So I want you to walk me through like how the process is and exactly what problem you're trying to solve in that.
So what we're trying to do is music discovery, right? And music discovery is one of the most difficult problems algorithmically to solve. And so what we want to do is we want to give that power of music discovery directly into the community. And so we want to make the governance system, which is what our initial token airdrop will be, is the governance tokens. And so those governance tokens, that's what everyone is going to use to be able to vote songs up the platform. And then as those songs get voted up the platform, like the certain percentages of the platform, those governance tokens, they all get burned. And then the next day, whenever all of the results are tabulated, they get rewarded. All of the people who voted for like the popular songs and everything get rewarded with the unlocked, spendable, able to be traded on DEX's SON token. And the way that we break that down is that 50% of those emissions go to the artist, and then the other 50% gets split among all of the fans. So literally half of the what you would call revenue from the plays of the song, from the popularity of the song, goes straight to the artist.
Awesome. So when it comes to the tokens, you guys have two tokens that I'm aware of, right? The amps and the sand tokens that will come out.
Right.
Can you walk me through the difference between those two?
It's technically the same token, just in different forms. So
Okay.
the AMP token is the locked form, and then the SON token is the unlocked form that's like freely tradable and spendable. The AMP token has to be a governance token for it to really function properly, right? And that is a true governance token in that form, which means that it doesn't have any inherent value, but then you can use it by engaging with the platform, by voting for artists, by like going in and being like, oh, well, I know my boy Yoni, he just made this diss track to Ryan, and I know that this is going to pop off because this whole community for big crypto thinks that this dude is just hilarious, right? And so we're all going to go in and we're going to vote this thing to the top, and then we'll get our tokens back. We'll get our tokens out of it tomorrow, whatever. And so like that's really the sort of like community sort of response that we're going to want to see with the ones that are rallying around these artists and trying to get the music noticed by others that are in these communities.
That's actually really cool. Because it sounds like you guys are almost like implementing a DeFi aspect to this, similar to what Curve does when it comes to the vote locked or vote escrowed aspect of it, where us we decide to vote for which artist we like, and then the artist can if he wanted to, he can bribe us by saying, hey, I'm going to host a live show, or I'm going to reward you guys with something if you vote for me. So it kind of creates that competition in this music industry, where it's about talent and it's about like how you interact with your community and fan base.
Yeah, and it's very much true that I think that in the beginning, the people that are going to have a clear advantage, I think, is like they're the people that like actually built a platform and built a following early, and like built those relationships early with the token holders. Because like we're gonna have people that come in and they're paying for their membership on like a credit card or whatever. They're using it via Web 2, they're on their phone. They don't even know that it runs crypto. They don't even know that everything that they're doing has crypto behind it. It's going to be completely like obfuscated from the public eye, because like we're going to be open and honest about exactly how we're doing everything, but we also don't want it to be a stopping point for people who want to bring their grandma in to help them support, like to be like, hey grandma, you know, I made this music, all you have to do to support it is sign up on this app and just listen to my music on there, and I appreciate it, and just vote for my songs. And like that's all you should ever have to tell someone about how you want to support your musician friends.
Yeah,
Vote
definitely.
for my songs, pay for the membership, that's it. And then
So
you can whatever.
when it comes to this, when you're onboarding the masses, right now in crypto, we have that friction when you're onboarding, because not a lot of people understand these wallets, right? And when it comes to buying these tokens and connecting your wallet and all of that, what are you guys doing to exactly solve that? And another thing I wanted to ask is regarding the soul binding of it.
Mhm.
When you soul bind, you essentially lock your tokens in with that wallet. What measures are you taking for people that lose their wallet? Because I know that you also have that twin soul binding aspect. But one thing that I learned from like various companies like Near Protocol, right? Near has this feature where you can keep your wallet, and if you notice something suspicious, you can swap in the private keys or the seed phrase, but still keep the same wallet address.
Mhm.
So I want to know if you guys are exploring some kind of like solutions towards this like soul binding aspect of it, and how you're onboarding the masses.
So those are two really good questions. I'm going to address the security one first. One thing that's really interesting is that even whenever your wallet gets hacked, right, you can still sign things from that wallet, right? So if you ever needed to, if we ever came up, and when we will, whenever we come up with a solution, or the ability to maybe make like a proxy for your initial token, which we're doing for other reasons anyway. Um, and if you made like a proxy of your initial token or whatever, that's a way that we could solve for that problem, and then just like blacklist the old token, so on and so forth. The other part is that like you still have that accessibility to do that. You just have to like do it within a frame that it expects a certain input at a certain time, so that you can't just have like the hacker doing that thing for you, because it'd be like a multi-stage approach, and you'd like, have to prove identity, so on and so forth. And there's a bunch of stuff that goes into that. But the part that ZK really helps with is that's more of like a data privacy and other privacy sort of issue, in that in the future we're going to be able to have a ZK layer to show that like, okay, well, we know this person's like a 19-year-old that lives in Texas and lives at home with their mom and listens to bluegrass techno, but we don't know which wallet that actually belongs to. But it's going to be all of them, because everyone's going to think that bluegrass techno is awesome. So, and then the other question that you asked, what was the other side of that one? Other than security?
Just on the simplicity of onboarding new members that don't know too much about wallets in general.
Right. So on that side, I don't really want it to have a wallet feel to it. I think that that should definitely be like a layer down into it that you could go into if you wanted to, kind of like an unlockable feature, or something that you can be like, oh, I want the advanced mode or whatever. And so up until that point, you should have points, and you should have a membership, and you should have those points that you can spend on merch with your favorite artists, or you can have points that you spend on exactly what you're saying earlier, those NFTs. And that's the other thing that I kind of forgot earlier, was you asked how do we play nice with all of the other music platforms out there. I don't care if the music comes from Audius or Song X or Sound XYZ, or Formless, or someone's actual like music NFTs that are then like put on through Formless or whatever. Like all of those different things, being able to experience that music and like advertise where it came from, right? I think is going to be like a net benefit for all of the different services involved, not just Spotify, not just SoundCloud, but like Audius and Sound.xyz and Formless and all of these other players that are trying to come in and make a name for themselves in music. I mean, Spotify today unveiled their super underwhelming token integration, where they're going to have like unlockable playlists, and there's so much further that we can go with all of it. That it's just it's a whole different. I love this word and I hate this word at the same time. Paradigm. It's a whole different paradigm.
Ryan uses it all the time. But yeah, regarding the Spotify thing, I actually spoke to Ryan literally a few minutes before our call and was like, hey, do you know what that Spotify just dropped some stuff? Speaking of sound. And we're like, wait, but what does that have to do with the playlist? Why would anybody want exclusive rights to or access to a playlist? So we're still trying to figure that out as well. But
I mean, it's cool. It's just like, what else is there? Like, what else are you doing? It doesn't really seem like enough, but then again, big corporations are very good at like testing the waters very, very, very slowly. That's how they got big, and they'll probably run me over one day. So who knows?
Well, I do like what you stated about the rest of the competition, that you don't really see that as competition. You see it as a net benefit for everybody because you guys are focusing on artist discovery, right? So, I do think that this space is so young and so niche that it there's a lot of room to grow for everybody. So it's the pie is big enough.
The only people that I've ever really tried to compete with in crypto are the traditional financial systems, and that's about it.
And that's something that I notice every major Web3 developer state the same thing, is that we're not trying to compete against each other here. We are trying to make products that are better and fairer than what Web2 currently offers.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now that we kind of have an idea of where this music platform sits in the frame of all the different music platforms out there, I kind of want to dive into the concept of soul binding and how there's three different levels to it, right? So I'm going to share my screen. Inside of here, we go into the sanctuary and we have these three different options. And then there's another one that's not listed. Actually, I probably have to go here. 33.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of talk through these four different ones here, and then I want you to sell me on the 33 after you talk through them.
Okay. I didn't realize that Ryan had it like that, but I'm good. Yoni actually called you broke earlier before the show actually began, so this is very surprising to me.
Oh my God. The guy that has access to my seed phrase is calling me broke. Oh, that really stings.
I know your wallets. I know what tokens you have.
Cool. So let's dive into the Citizen first, and then we'll go through to the Defiant and then the Hanzoku, and then the final one, which I want you to sell us on. That's what I really want to do. All right. So with the Citizen, you get 1 year of Son platform access. So what happens after that 1 year of access? Like, you already soul bounded your token. So then would you need to buy another token in order to soul bind that to choose then a different level? Like, how does that work once you lose access?
You would just use your credit card to because at that point, after a year, we'll definitely have credit cards operational, probably day one, honestly, for the platform. But you would just use your credit card to sign up for like a recurring membership or like a 6-month or 1 month membership, however we end up selling it.
Okay, that answers a big question for me then, because that's what I was wondering for all of these. Once you use an invite, you give it to somebody, they get access to things. So you are looking to have a actual paid membership as a way to expand this to the masses then.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing is like, it's like a lot of or sorry, I would assume that it will be like, I have to be very careful with my wording, but I would assume it would be very close to things like EVE Online, where like you can earn your in-game time sort of stuff. And I think that would be similar if you're actively participating in the platform and you're like using it and you're having the tokens. I would imagine that we would open up an option for you to be able to pay for your ongoing membership with those tokens. We've already started doing this a little bit with giving out free soul binds, like free level 1 soul binds to people in the community who build like useful tools and things like that to kind of like help the whole community out. And I don't see any reason why we would stop that there for that sort of stuff.
Okay, so the obvious question that I think everybody's wondering, how much would you guys be charging for access to this music discovery platform per month?
No idea. No
Any
idea.
ballpark?
I would say that like you don't want to hit customers above like $10 a month
Yeah.
because of like it's not really an easy price target. But then again, depending on how everything works, how hyped everything is, how much our costs have went up to at that point or whatever, we may have to go further, we may have to go higher, or we may be able to go a lot lower or like whatever. So we've got like a bunch of different income streams, and it kind of depends on how all of them develop as to how we will have to adjust pricing on each.
Okay. And will there be a freemium model?
Yes, there is a freemium model, very much in place. Even now, like the thing that I was talking to you about earlier with the gaming, like having like a jukebox in a game, for example, and that jukebox is actually Son, and it features our music discovery platform, but it has to like it makes sure that every single song that goes through there, because it's in a game, is also fully available for streamers to actually play whenever they're on Twitch, whenever they're on YouTube, and they're not going to get copyright struck. And I think that's like a really important feature as well. It's something that I think has been really, really underrated, and we see it in like Hi-Fi Rush that just came out as like an Xbox Game Pass game, and it has a streamer mode. And in streamer mode, it disables all of the copyright protected songs, right? And that's kind of a way to do that, but in like a responsible way that still gets artists their exposure, but also still like protects the people who don't want their music to be on there or have existing deals with like UMG or something that would actually strike it from the platform or copyright strike a streamer.
Okay. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay. So then after the 1 year access with doing the Citizen, that's almost like your test run, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of like to see if you like it. If you do, maybe you buy another NFT if they're still available. Is that kind of
That one you wouldn't really want to just go buy another NFT at that point. We would be well into the whole membership model. All of this stuff, all of this soul binding stuff is really just for early crypto adopters.
okay?
And so like it's really for those that want to dive in, that want to look at like all the nerdy stuff, that want to see how the bread and everything is made, and like go into it. Like those are for early adopters and for like just like really big fans and really big like speculative sort of players.
Okay, cool. And then we're going to dive into the hardware and the event access stuff later. But now I want to go on to the Defiant section where you get the musician invite. So there's this reality where if you invite a musician on board, did you get like a referral code or something? Like, how does the invite process work for that?
So it's kind of like a referral code. It's going to be an NFT, right? And so like you would send them the thing, and you know that's how they would sign up to the platform. But again, we need to make that in a way that we don't have to have people downloading MetaMask out here, and
Yeah.
they're like a musician, and they're trying to download MetaMask, and they're trying to activate, they're trying to sign, and they get the wrong thing, and they get a phishing site. That's not something that's really scalable, right? So a lot of these things that are described as NFTs, like trial memberships and everything, they're going to be NFTs, but they're NFTs so far in the background that like the general public never sees them. And what that musician invite would do for you is if you had like, you know, Yoni, we go back to that example earlier, you know that Yoni has bars, right? And you know that he would absolutely mess your day up if he ever got around to writing that track about you, right? And you're like, well, I want that to happen, but I also want to profit off of it. I want to actually get paid off this. And so what you'd do is you'd use one of those musician invites to actually invite him onto the platform, and you'd get like a small percentage of his earnings for pretty much in perpetuity. So whoever the person is to actually invite that musician on successfully would actually get that kind of forever bonus.
Okay. So let's use kind of like a ballpark, 1 million streams. How much do you think somebody could actually make from inviting an artist on that then gets 1 million streams on the platform?
So this is the portion of the interview where we're like, okay, so I always like to pretend that this person right here, you see this one? This is my giant stuffed chocobo. It's actually my wife's. Don't let her hear me say this. But this is my wife's giant stuffed chocobo. And this giant stuffed chocobo is not a giant stuffed chocobo. That is Agent Yellow. And that Agent Yellow is actually from the SEC, and he is there to fuck my shit up if I ever get out of line. And so this would be one of those times where I'm like, I can't really estimate that because the entire system is set up to be able to be operable with a token price of 0. And I mean that really, really kind of like religiously, because like it doesn't matter what the token price is, because that token has a utility in the way that it's actually distributed first. Like you earn it by listening to the music, you earn it by like engaging with the platform and like getting that power, that voting power, that governance power, that actual utility, the actual utility that has like the capability of like blowing up that musician or that song or whatever.
Okay.
And so it would depend deeply on token price at the time.
I
Yo.
like that you guys are doing this, because you know what we see a lot in crypto is that a lot of whales or people just try to game the system in general, right? And here you're saying, hey, you know, we actually value the work and the time that like you participate in the network in general, for you to have certain rights and certain amount of power.
Yeah, it's no whale is going to come in and like break the governance system, and like we've had one community member try his best, and we've kind of like demonstrated to him over time why like that's going to be a difficult thing for him to do. I'm really glad that he didn't split his soul binds over like a bunch of different wallets trying to like game it, because he would not have been able to. So I'm really excited for him to be able to be a very, very early supporter of a bunch of different music, which he's very excited to do. He basically wants to open like an A&R based on Son, which is awesome. But that was his play. And so we've kind of shown that like the distribution model is set up to be like resistant to that sort of like takeover from any one individual actor.
Cool. Okay. So now the Defiant and the Hanzoku are very similar, other than you just get more with Hanzoku, right? So then the big difference comes in with the 33, which is almost 5 times the price of the second most expensive one here. And this is where some questions come into play, not around user invites or around, you know, the lifetime Son platform access, but around special question mark for the plus special. So can you kind of dive into the like the mystery and around this whole special Genesis hardware, and can you go through, so what's special about the we'll start with the special musician invites first.
All right, so before that, and I'm gonna treat you, because you said to sell it to you, right? So I'm gonna treat you just like I have
100%.
every single 33 that we've actually onboarded, which is about 5 or 6 of them at this point, right? So let me ask you, what part of the platform is most important to you? Is it the hardware? Is it the music platform? Is it something else? Is it the ability to invite musicians? What is that thing?
Oh, you have done sales.
So very much so.
So I don't know enough about the hardware to know if that would be what's for me, because I'm very happy with my Apple AirPods.
Okay. And so what is something that you, out of those other things, like, do you find yourself, do you have a lot of music connections? Would you invite a lot of friends in there to be musicians? Would you be more of like a networker, and you would be going into your big crypto group and you'd be trying to get every single person set up so where you get like a little piece off of each of them? Like, how would you actually play the game here?
I think as a community owner, I think that, you know, I could definitely get some eyeballs into things, and I've got some music connections that I could bring in. I don't know about 100.
Right.
You know, I don't know how many musician invites I could bring in, but I definitely think that I have a, you know, a level of pull where I could get some musicians on board and get some users activated into the system.
Right. And so kind of the thing that's really neat about the hardware part, which is like, okay, well, you have your AirPods, and your AirPods are really good. I mean, we know they're really good, right? Like one of our co-founders actually like created the drivers, the primary audio drivers that were used in the very first like version of the AirPods, right? Of course they're good, right? But the thing about these like headphones here is that they're not just like headphones. They're not just in ear monitors. They actually have a bunch of like space on them. They have a bunch of canvas. These are very much designed as sort of a branding play, right? So Big Crypto, for example, could get one of its community artists or whoever did like the logos and everything, and y'all could actually have like a special edition version of this as kind of like the benefit for you being the 33, because you're the 33, you're one of our partners. You get to come in on advisory sessions with us. You get to tell us how we should be building the platform. We get to test ideas through you. And not only that, but as a 33, you'd be able to say, well, I want my brand to get this thing, or I want my brand to be focused on in this way, or I want my brand to get special access for this specific event because I've got a lot of people there. And like things like that, that's what we really mean by special. So we mean it in a way of like, well, we're going to change whatever feature it is that you're most interested in, or several of those features, in order to best suit your needs and your business. Because the odds are, if you're coming in as the 33, you're not coming in as the 33 to get a bunch of tokens. You're coming in as the 33 because you have plans. You have plans to like actually monetize and sort of weaponize the existing platform that's being built up around Son.
So it sounds like in a traditional stock method, like you're buying a lot of shares of this company because you believe in their vision, and you want to have a way to utilize this for your own business and be on the advisory board and just interact and grow it in general. So you have to have a personal conviction for this program and
Right.
product that they're building.
Right. We haven't had anyone join the 33 from MetaMask, is what I'm saying, right? Like we've never had anyone just go in and be like, I'm going to do this because it's the most expensive option. Like everyone who's joined the 33 has come and had a conversation with us, and like really like we've tried to dig down into like what it is that you're most interested in, and most of those are branding related. So
Okay. So would you say it's an idea of like integrating Son into maybe like a business system that you already have, like utilizing, I don't know if it's IP or is it just like access or like something like, how would you say that Big Crypto would benefit from being part of the 33 and having access to utilize go ahead.
Let me tell you, I heard a story earlier that sometimes whenever you're traveling to crypto events, you can have difficulty getting things like tickets to different events. There's a network within the core team over at Son that could really help you out with that.
Okay.
And if you had like priority access to all of the team members there, then obviously that's something that would be of value to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much value do you think that would bring to Big Crypto? Would you say that's like 5 ETH worth?
Depends on how much access our community gets to these different events.
Right, exactly. And so what we've just honed in on, by the way, Ryan, is that we're not the most interested in the hardware. We're not most interested in the invites. We're not most interested in the tokens. What we're actually most interested in are the live events, which conveniently is the one thing that we have not covered, right?
Yep.
And so, all right, well, awesome. Well, what if we give you like 2 VIP passes for Big Crypto holders or like group members every single event that we ever went to? Would that be something that would interest your community?
Yeah, I'd say that would definitely
Absolutely.
interest the community. Yeah.
Of course, and obviously depending on the artist, some might interest more than others.
Right, exactly. And so the thing is that like it's really like, and by the way, I sold a lot of cars. Just so you know, Ryan, I've sold a good amount of cars. But no, it's really just about like finding whatever it is that like you're specifically into, and then like making it work for that. Like Koa, for example, Koa wants metal headphones. He wants metal ones. He wants these, but like completely metal, and like just he wants gold ones. He likes his gold bars. He wants these in like with like gold plated like stuff and just crazy looking and just like all this stuff, right? And he's gonna get them obviously because he's Koa. He's our like number one fan, right? But that's like his prerogative as a 33, and he's like I want to use my one of ones for this. And there's another 33 or potential 33 that was like, well, I would really want to put my Azuki on a pair. And just like, I don't even want anyone else to have them. I just want them for myself. I just want my Azuki on a pair. And we're like, okay, awesome, cool. And like being able to do that, being able to have that much control over the production line, or being able to have that much control over the events, or being able to have that much control over whatever, is really like what we're really aiming for with the 33. So special, I mean, it just depends on what's special to you.
Okay. Yoni, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that it sounds like you're taking that NFT non-fungible aspect to the extreme for that, because it would really be truly a 1 out of 1 if that they wanted to do something like that. So basically, what you're saying is almost like you provide almost like a custom tailored service in a sense for this
Yeah.
beyond the concerts and events.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point of the whole platform, right? Is that like artists don't need to do everything themselves. Artists don't need to do everything themselves. They need to go make music, and then they need to upload the music, and they need to choose how they want that music to be able to be distributed. Do you want it to do it all through NFTs? Do you want to do it all through Formless? Do you want to do it all through Audius? Do you want to do it all through, hosted on IPFS for some reason? Like, how do you want to distribute it? How do you want the everything to work? And then we'll make sure that we can like help you get to that point, and make sure that our services like can shift to meet that. Like a ticketing system, for example, an example that's used a lot. We have our own ticketing system that's actually pretty much done. But the ticketing system, we're setting it up so where you can do like anything. We can avoid this whole like Taylor Swift situation by making it so where like each time that you transfer a ticket, you can only sell it for 50% over whatever the previous person paid for it, and you can only do that 3 times, for example. Or you can make it so where, okay, you can allow 300% markup, but it can be transferred as many times as you want, but it can only go up to a 300% markup each time, or whatever. And there's a bunch of different methods. There's a bunch of different ways to do that sort of stuff. But basically, giving artists that control back over their career, I think that's really important to start out really, really early, showing that we can be flexible with our business models and with our response to the way that we've dealt with issues and challenges.
Okay, cool. So we were going to go over the hardware first, but you kind of brought us into the event side of things. Now, before I do dive into events, is there anything about hardware that's important to understand before we dive into events?
Our hardware isn't just in-ear monitors or headphones. Our hardware has like a bunch of kind of special sauce in it that is going to be able to be scaled up over time through firmware updates, through hardware updates, to really like be able to be usable at live events, at certain venues, at certain things in the metaverse, even like on your phone, just with the social app and the app that we're going to have to control said headphones. And there's a lot of features that we haven't unveiled yet. So
yeah, so then let's dive into the headphones first. And so here's the headphones on the oneofnone.io website, and on here is where it talks about the product of Beats by Dre and Monster and all that. And right here it says Sonware will be accompanied by social focused technologies to create a more immersive artist fan relationship. Can you kind of explain what social focused technology means and how that can be tied into headphones?
So one of my favorite meetings that I've ever had is with Juju, which is one half of Audio Push, and he's one of our advisors. He's an artist, and he has a really good sized following. And one of the things that he expressed concerns over is he was like, I'm really tired of like all of these all of these different services not really giving me the opportunity to interact with my most rabid fans, the people who like stick one of my songs on repeat for like a day. I want to talk to those people. And so like he brought up the idea, he's like, if I wanted to, could I like drop a voice message to like everyone who's listened to my song more than like 10 times in the last week? And we were like, yeah, sure, that's awesome. That's what you can do. You can do that. Or you could like actually call them on the headphones or whatever. And like there's a bunch of different things that you can do on that, because these are going to be tied in through an app on your phone. And so it basically, like, these are tied to you, tied to your phone. And it's something that's like a really unique set of artist interactions. It's something that pretty much, like, Taylor Swift, that's one of the reasons why those tickets went so crazy, right? Is that she takes individual care and attention to each one of her fans. Like she
So
really, like, she really tries to do that. And it's not scalable for most artists. She has a whole staff that does it. But if we make it easy enough through technology to actually do that, that's something that I think a lot more artists would actually take the time to do, as you see them now whenever they have their own communities for like open editions and music NFTs and stuff.
That's really cool. So I think this kind of ties into the zero knowledge proof technology in this aspect, because now what you guys are essentially doing is you're giving artists the data to see which like what the age group of and the location of people that are listening to them, how often they listen, right? And that way they can, you know, further own their skills and cater to the community and see what kind of music they like, that they drop most, and the artwork. And there's so many things on beyond that. And with these headphones now, you're saying is that it brings that extra level of communication between the fan and the artist.
Right.
That.
Right. And there's a lot more that we could do with it as well. You can, I mean, there's no limit to this. You could talk about like silent discos where you go to like an actual IRL location, like go to all the people in New York that want to listen to like an exclusive track that someone's dropping. Well, okay, well, I'm going to drop it in Central Park, right? And so anyone that's in Central Park and has these on or whatever can hear that track, but no one else can, right? And so like things like that, location-based things. In the Blockworks article, that David Lung was quoted as basically saying like an audio version of Pokemon Go, and that's always funny because like everyone compares every geolocation app to Pokemon Go, but in this case, I mean, I can definitely see where the comparison is drawn from.
okay. Now, real quick, for those of you that aren't aware, I want to dive into zero knowledge technology real quick before we move forward. Because if you've heard that term, you're not very familiar with it. You might have also heard us say ZK tech. Basically, what it is it's the ability to learn information about somebody without actually knowing who they are, with having no unique identifiers that actually reveals the identity of who that individual is. So imagine if you were to apply for a credit card with a bank. You have to let them know your social security number. You have to let them know all that information so that they can look up what your credit score is. So then they learn exactly who you are, what your social is. They can tie that to you, your actual individual person. Plus, then they know exactly what your credit score is. So imagine if you were to apply for a credit card and the bank had no idea who you were. So there was no potential for prejudice or anything like that there. And they also can get the end result of knowing if you're qualified for this credit card without knowing who you are or what your actual credit score is. They'll just get the result of knowing if you're qualified or not, which is massive for having privacy inside of the internet world.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I mean, I think that they would probably need to know your credit score for certain loans, but not necessarily tied directly to you in that aspect. And the way, the analogy that I like to put for ZK Tech is, imagine having like the Where's Waldo book. You know he's there, so but it just more of you don't know exactly where he is, but it's verified that he's there. So that's the most basic way that I can explain it.
I swear to God, page 18, he was not there. I looked for like 3 hours and he was just not, he wasn't there.
No, he was there. He was he looked like a candy cane, so you couldn't really tell.
I knew that barbershop was hiding something, dude.
Yeah. Understandable. I get it. It was hard to find. For the untrained eye, it might be a little difficult,
Yeah. I'm not an expert. But yeah, so ZK is a really interesting thing. ZK and customer privacy is kind of like critical, because like people don't need to know everything. And as soon as you give companies this data and the permission to do with it whatever they will, what they are going to do is they are going to maximize their profits and they are going to minimize the return to you. And I think that we need to really flip this on its head and make privacy an opt-out situation, not an opt-in situation. There's a lot of apps out there currently that let you opt into privacy, opt into not sharing your data. There's an additional check mark that you have to do. And so we want to switch that and really make it so where like, no, it's very much an opt-out experience. Like by standard, we don't collect any of this stuff. We don't even know this stuff about you. But if you want to do this and get rewarded in tokens, and then it's still going to be anonymized, it's still going to be filtered through these other angles, and then it's going to be reported up to the artists. I think that we did like a few unit tests, and we're like, okay, well, we can't give artists any analytics data until they have like this certain base number of fans, because otherwise it's super easy to just tie a specific wallet to that specific person, and just by essentially guessing. So yeah.
Okay, so these headphones, are they going to be tied directly to your wallet?
These headphones will act as a beacon for your wallet. So they're not going to be directly tied to your wallet. It's not going to be the same thing. It's something that you can kind of like change up how you want it to be. And it can be something like, okay, well, this is tied to this other wallet that I have, but then we can't see which one that actually is. And so we don't want someone to be able to like look on chain and be like, Ryan said that he doesn't want to go to LA. And yet I see that he has went to 6 Little John concerts in LA in the last like 3 years. And so like, I really think that motherfucker's dodging me. You know what I mean? And like, we don't want that sort of situation. And so like, that's where that ZK layer comes in, is that you still have to like anonymize everything.
Okay. So with these headphones here, you're basically saying that this would give artists the ability to reach out and send not fully personalized, messages or voice messages or anything like that there, but there'd be a way for, how would they feel special? How would they feel special if they know that everybody is getting these messages?
And see, that's where it comes into like the law of averages here, right? So if you sent out a greeting to all of your fans, right? That's not like a very special greeting. But if you send out a message to your 3 fans that all attended all of your North American tour, right? Like that went to every city or went to at least 4 cities or whatever, that starts to be like an increasingly small amount. And it's not something that you could do just with a voice message. That's like just one example that one person came up with. Say if you wanted to like commission an artist, you wanted to commission Cro-Magnus to do like a thank you piece for everyone that had been to any of your concerts that year, for example. And that's something that could be done. And or say that if you wanted to drop them one of your music NFTs or whatever, like that's also something that could be done. And that's something that it doesn't have to be 100% special, and it could also be 100% unique. Like you could just target one person that's like, hey, I know this one person did this, this, and this, and I want to give them just my number one fan. Like I want to give them a shout out. They voted for me with the most tokens last year. I want to do this thing that's special for them. I want to invite them to this thing, and then give them like an NFT that's claimable for that experience or whatever.
Okay. So all of that is possible without the headphones as well, though. So do you have to have the headphones in order to be able to have that access and that relationship with the artists?
No, you don't have to have the headphones in order to have that relationship with the artist. The headphones are really something that we are kind of trying to demonstrate some of these different technologies with, and it's something that we think is going to be really fun with all of the different features that we have in it. It's really comparable to the Artifact Crypto Kicks. They're still shoes, right? Right. But they're the coolest fucking shoes that you can like kind of think of right now. They've got like everything. They've got like the auto lacing stuff, the stuff that we've dreamed of since like Back to the Future and stuff.
Yeah.
Like yeah, they're still just shoes, man. They still just protect your feet, but also like they do it in such a cool way that like that experience is worth it. And that's something that I think as more people get these in their hands, they're going to realize that the experience of listening to music on these is actually really great. We don't have active noise cancellation. We have ergonomic noise cancellation. The reason why is that whenever you have active noise cancellation, what that actually is that you're introducing noise you're introducing noise into the sound, the signal, in order to block out the noise that's coming in from outside. And so like it basically pipes in the inverse of whatever that is in order to like make it sound like nothing. But that's also messing with the existing signal. So it's messing with the actual music that you're trying to listen to. So instead, like what David did is he designed like an earphone, like I guess base shape that actually like fits to your canal and fits this. And he's got like 3 different types of these tips in there. He's got like a couple of different types of these larger tips in there, or the larger like surrounding areas in there, to kind of like make sure to fit all sorts of ears and to make sure that that always works. So you kind of like put it into place, and then you just kind of twist it into the canal. And now right now I can barely hear anything out of this side of my head because like it's properly blocked off from outside noise. And so if you're wearing these at a concert, another thing that you could say, this is one of the more wild things that I've talked about for a bit, but like say if you're wearing these at a concert with all of your friends, right? And then we've got like fully customizable touch controls. We're gonna pretend this is like 2 years down the line sort of stuff, right? But I'm wearing these, you're wearing these, Yoni's wearing these, and we've got like no way to communicate with each other outside of this. We could have like tap patterns. So we could just like have these in and then be like tap 3 times or whatever, which I think I just tapped 4, but whatever. Yeah, so tap 3 times for Yoni, and then it'll like send a thing and then a notification through there. All the while you're at a loud concert. These are basically just acting as earplugs to protect your hearing. Same sort of thing can be true of sporting activities or hunting or fishing or whatever. There's a bunch of different ways that we could use that sort of thing where like essentially these are earplugs, ear protection, so on and so forth.
Okay.
So it's very much like an experiential thing. And I think that as we develop this out further, we get feedback from the community, we see how people are using it, which we'll be able to see how people are using it pretty soon. And we'll make a lot of revisions and changes and developments based on that, not just based on our own hopes and dreams and pie in the sky ideas.
Okay, cool. And I saw the lights were coming on. Let's say you don't want the lights. Can you turn off the
You
lights?
can turn the lights off. It's one of my pet peeves.
Okay.
I
Cool.
hate the lights, and I honestly don't like the. Okay, so all of these, the like this whole surface is all touch sensitive, right? And so one of the things that we found difficulty with, and we've already turned this feature off in the newer versions, but if you hold it just for like 5 seconds, it actually turns the unit off, and then it actually messes. Sees that, then now it's off, right? And so it's something that like if you were just trying to use it and you picked it up and you just like waited too long before you put it in your ears, it would turn off, right? And so things like that, yeah, no, it needs to be optional. It needs to be something that you can customize. It needs to be something that you can change, and that's what our app is for. And so in the future, what you'll be able to do relatively soon, actually, next few months, is that you'll just be able to like tap your phone to the device, and then it should like automatically walk you through the pairing process, prompt you to download the app, everything of that nature, and then it'll know like which ones are yours. So.
Okay. So the headphones will link directly with the SonSound app in like a specific way.
Yes, and the first app that we have that's going to be available on mobile is going to be strictly for the headphones.
Okay.
So
Cool.
to control the headphones, to customize the features and everything of the headphones.
When do you expect that to be launched?
I expect the beta of the app within the next couple of months.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, Kaku just joined us. So I want to go ahead and welcome Kaku here. And he's here perfectly in time to go over the events, which I think is something that he'll be, a good person to chat with about. So Kaku, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, how are you guys? Sorry, I'm a little late. Yes. So what do you guys want to know about the events?
Yeah,
Side
so
of
we
that.
want to start diving into that. So like so if you were to give a quick rundown of the events and what you guys are looking to like the vision for them, and to compare it to some of the other events that we have out there right now, which one would you say it most properly aligns with?
I mean, To be fair, I think we're not trying to just do like, events just strictly for Web3, right? Because we are, aspiring to be a platform for independent musicians. So we're gonna do something along those lines at the beginning. So right now we've partnered with this very, very big brand called Space Yacht, out based out of LA. And what they do is they have these weekly parties on Tuesdays at Sound Nightclub, and they break artists. So they've been doing this for about 7 to 8 years, and they do focus on electronic music mainly. But this party has been ongoing for over 7 years now on every Tuesday, and they just have like some of the illest lineups that you can imagine. So we partner with them to do like a bunch of shows, and that's not really for Web3, right? It's really for their Web2 audience, but what we're
Mhm.
trying to do is kind of like fuse both communities together, using Space Yacht's platform at the very beginning. And essentially, once we have the platform up and running, some of the artists that we have charting will have an opportunity to play with like, big events like Space Yacht, for example. And we're just trying to like add different partnerships along the way to execute that.
So would you say that the events that you're hosting is kind of like your battering ram to really dive in and kind of infiltrate the masses to really get the sound platform really out there?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, because right now, as Sound is building, we're not a big enough entity to really, draw the kind of audience, like the music audience on our own, right? So, my outreach, even though I'm a musician, is very limited still. So we need to partner with big brands like Space Shot so that we can draw like more of a mass audience, and maybe people who aren't, necessarily into, Web3, but they're into music. I mean, those are the kind of audience that we would want, because on our platform, you know, it's not like we're just, trying to get like, people that are interested in NFTs or crypto involved, right? We're trying to get the mass, to ride with this new idea of this platform, right?
So it sounds like you're leveraging blockchain technology to reach the masses and scale out, this platform in general. And that's actually really cool because that you're coming at it from that angle versus many other protocols that I see that are just focused strictly on crypto, which then they lack the solutions to really reach out to regular people, which is why we even formed this place to teach everybody. But I want to go a little bit on a different route here because you are a musician. And when you go onto the main site, and Ryan, if you can play it after this, you're focused specifically on some like electronic music, and it kind of reminds me of I don't know if you heard of Kavinsky and Nightfall, because every time I listen to that, it has like that kind of inspiration to it. So I want to know, like, what was your inspiration behind the music genre, and was that what got you started into this?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been producing for trying to come up with like the theme song for Son. I knew it had to be like very ominous, like very mysterious, right? And I think the way that we presented the project from the beginning, it was just like leaking like alpha through our Twitter page, and our Discord was even locked at the very beginning. So like, you kind of had to know either myself, I'm Complex, or Crow to really like, I guess like hop into the project early. And the three of us coming together, we're OG Oni Force, right? And so everybody knew us from, that project, like, when they launched in 2021. And so, yeah, so it was when the three of us, like, kind of like simultaneously were like, hey, we're doing a project together, get in this Discord now. It was kind of made a big splash, online at that time. So yeah, so I was like, to just like stick with the theme, the mysteriousness. I was like, okay, I got to do something, a sound that's very mysterious. So I actually found the sample, and I was like, oh man, this is a really sick one. I have to like, base it around that. And so yeah, and it kind of came natural. This was actually one of the easiest ones I made. I made about like 20 songs for a song already.
So speaking of these, which because we right now in the NFT marketplace, there's a lot of blue chip PFP projects out there, but not many blue chip ones that have a song attached to them. So would if I don't know if I'm leaking or if you're allowed to say anything regarding this, but like, are you guys working towards integrating music in your profile pics NFTs that you're releasing?
Yeah, so without leaking too much, that is definitely on the radar. Music will always have something to do with our project, right? Whether it's through PFPs, whether it's through our IRL events, whether it's through the songware, music is still the core of this project. So yes, that is something that's been on our minds, but I can't say too much yet right now. That.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just wanted to ask because that's something that like we definitely lack into this space, at least in the NFT art of aspects, and having a project like that, then that could be a potential blue chip. It would be kind of start a wave of like more projects doing the same thing, incorporating music behind them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think the music space, in Web3, it's still at the very, very, like premature stages. I think there's not many projects that's even doing something nearly close to this. I mean, we have our own audio hardware that's coming out, and that's speaking volumes on this team and what we're trying to build.
Yeah, what I'm really impressed on that you guys took this, the same level of thought that you're doing with the blockchain technology into the hardware as well. And not many, protocols are combining both of those to reach an audience and have like that fully built platform for artists and community members in general.
Right. I mean, the key word has always been Web3 enabled, right? I mean, from the beginning when we introduced Songware, that's like the key word that we've been really pushing to everyone. It's Web3 enabled. And I'm sure Flu has gone through kind of like what we're trying to do with the hardware itself already. But I mean, we are, I look, at the end of the day, I, you know, am pretty fairly new to crypto. Only been in it since maybe early 2021 because of NFTs, right? So I mean, I started learning about crypto and blockchain technology because I entered the space, right? And so like for me, I'm my main job as a musician, as a producer, is still very Web2, right? So I'm trying, because blockchain technology, has impressed me. It's a, I'm trying to get more people, more of my musician friends, like into the sector, right? Because it's done a ton for my life, and I just want to make a difference. And music is still like my main focus, but I'm like, why can't we use blockchain technology? Why can't we, you know, make this like an everyday thing? That's been my like focus for the past few years, is trying to onboard more and more of my musician friends onto blockchain, right? And like there's so much like cool tech that's going down, and these guys are missing out. And so I'm trying to like maybe like use Sound as like a really good way to like attract them, to be like, hey, there's a new platform coming out. You can earn money on it. Why not just join us? And a lot of my friends are independent musicians too, and they need the help. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of like the idea behind it. It's not so complicated. Like I'm trying to like make it less complicated for people to understand what we're trying to build.
Yeah, for sure. So we were just talking about the events. So I got to ask, when's the first event?
Yeah, the first event is going to be with Space Yacht, actually. We haven't really announced it to the public yet, but it's March 21st at Sound Nightclub. And it's on their Tuesdays, their iconic Tuesdays. But this is the first one we're actually like going to announce that this is going to be our partnership. It's going to be a collaboration between us. It's going to be great. I mean, I've been working on this lineup for the past month. It's been super stressful, but it's looking real good right now. And it's I hope you guys can pull up to it. It's gonna be a
March
good one.
21st. Okay. Over in LA.
Over in LA, yeah, at Sound Nightclub. It's gonna be really good because they already have their crowd, that comes every Tuesday. But we're gonna be fusing in a lot of folks that are the holders or just people that are in town to come join in. So it's gonna be like a really good mix of Web2 and Web3 people. The Web2 people are just gonna think we're a headphone company probably, and the Web3 people are gonna think it's just like some meetup, but it's not. It's just like fusing two communities together, and it's gonna be very interesting. I'm actually really curious to see what's gonna happen. But yeah,
I think it's
the
really
lineup's
cool though, because you can kind of like infiltrate them with like, that the headphone, the physical hardware can be like your Trojan horse. Where like, oh, this cool little
exactly.
headphone brand. And then all of
Right.
a sudden they're like, surprise, bitch.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I think that's what's cool about Son, right? Is because maybe from the outside looking in, they think we're a really cool headphone brand, but in reality, we're doing so much more, right? And I think it's easier for like for example, like I'm sorry, sound. I'm sorry. I'm just like my brain's like turning like crazy right now, but yeah. Space Yacht's brand is really huge in the underground scene. So for them to partner with us, they're gonna think like, oh, they must be doing headphones, but in reality, they're working us, with us behind the scenes on so much more. But
Mhm.
it's like slowly introducing them in, like like through the somewhere is kind of the idea, right? Because a lot of music brands, I think that are like established, they get scared of the word Web3, NFTs right now. So I think this is an easy way to onboard them, and like they won't even know what's coming.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so
Yeah,
any like special access for NFT holders, and then even past that, special access for specifically soul binded NFT holders?
definitely. Soul binders are, the kings and queens, right,
Yeah.
of our community. So yes, they'll get different kinds of access. And I don't know if Flu has gone through like our soul binding and the brilliance with you guys, but there's this trait called the
Oh, he
private key.
put my he put my sales skills to the test, Kaku.
Oh
He
yeah.
was he was like, I'm gonna walk through each one of the layers, and then I want you to sell me on the 33. And
Oh
so
yeah, got
he
you.
opened himself up for it. Anyway, yeah, tell him about private keys. Let's go.
This is why I can count on Flu. No, the private keys is at the I believe the bottom right corner. If there's this key, and if you soul binded that, that means you get backstage access to any of our events, like basically like forever. So that's like one of the I would say the most popular one, that popular trait that people have been soul binding. But yes, like that's that like so any of the private key soul binders, if you're part of the 33, like you get backstage access for sure. And there is like a VIP area at sound. So um honestly, most likely we're gonna allow everybody backstage pretty much for the most part if you've soul binded like a tier 3 up. That's kind of like the idea right now.
Tier 3 meaning
But
Hanzoku.
Hanzuku, yeah.
Okay.
Just because I again, I don't know how many of our holders are going to be there, and it'll be kind of messed up if we don't let some of those guys in, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, and as we grow, we're going to be a lot more strict with it. But yes, the private keys is pretty much one of the main ones that you'd want to soul mine, because that allows you to let's say if we do like a event at a major festival for Insomniac, right? Getting backstage is very difficult actually. So we'd have to like work out a deal with them. But yeah, I mean, essentially, I mean, like for a music lover, man, being able to like go backstage and experience that and meet the artist like face to face, I mean, that's worth like a couple grand, right?
Yeah. So when you say private keys, do you mean like a certain
It's an
trait of one of these NFTs?
Yeah, it's an edge trait. And I actually looked it up just to fact check Kaku real quick, and it looks like, yeah, it is the most bound edge trait by far. There's actually 35 of them that have been bound, and that accounts for 9.26% of the supply. Which means that like 9.26% of the supply of private keys is just gone forever. Like it can never be traded again. And then what's funny though is that Tokens Gold actually has 10%, 10.9. Touch Grass has 11.41, and then Arthur is actually the highest percentage bound Kaku, which is 16.46%. It's the
Oh wow.
highest percentage for an edge
I mean,
trait.
that trait is I mean, the Arthur trait is a good looking trait also. I think people just want to soul bind that just in general. But yeah,
It's so
thank you
cool.
for fact checking, bro. But yeah, I definitely have fact checked on this because I know the private keys have been flying.
So
And that's
private
because like
key is this one at half an ETH at the moment.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that Kaku is like most of the reason behind the rise of the private key trait, because he's always made it clear that like in order to hang out with him at an event, like that's what having private key is soulbound does. Like you get to come back and like be with him as he fucking performs. It's crazy. Junior has videos of it, right, Kaku?
Yeah, so we tested it out actually because so I did play a space shot in December, like kind of a few days before Christmas. So we kind of tested it out. So we were like, hey, I'm playing this show. Anyone who has a soulbind tray, I'm sorry, private keys tray, if you guys pull up to LA, you guys get backstage access. So a few of the holders did show up, and yeah, treated them to like a entire like night of like partying and kind of like being at my table and stuff and being behind me like while I DJ'd, and like for them, they never even had an experience like that before, right? And for me, like, like I play shows all over the place, like, not just in the States, but all over Asia and stuff. So I'm like, if you guys ever, come out here, if you guys have the private keys, you guys just basically go on tour with me. And, I have a lot of friends in the industry that would be more than happy to, like I would say like, um, do that for the holders as well. So it's not just me, right? It's just like any artists that are going to be working with us. Like I'm sure Flu has told you, we have Wookie, we have Flosstradamus as advisors. I mean, they play like way more shows than me, bigger shows, and we can give them access to guys like those even.
I did not know that they were advisors, but that's cool. Good to
Okay.
know.
It's not out in the public yet, guys, but yes, they are our advisors, and we're going to be doing like announcements.
Kaku, something that
Yeah.
I was going to mention earlier is that all of this entire interview is being recorded and like put out there to their paid group. So like we've got people that are just like chilling in the ghosts, like the wings, that are like paid members of the group. So they're getting like all the alpha here, and then we might have to censor certain parts out for like publication on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, no worries. I mean, this alpha is coming like probably before NFT LA, but yeah, I mean, some of the stuff is sensitive, but I don't think I've shared like too much. That's like,
No, and Wookie and Flosstradamus or Flosstradamus is that both of those were mentioned in the Billboard article, so it's all good on that one. I think the only thing that was like a really surprise for everyone was the space yacht thing, which I've already teased in the chat over here
Yeah.
in Discord to get people to watch the Big Crypto
Yeah.
YouTube video. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, if you guys don't
Sick.
know about
That's a lot of alpha leaked right here. I'm
Yeah.
excited, but by
Yeah.
the time like this gets uploaded on YouTube, it'll be at least a week. So it obviously we'll coordinate with you guys. Let us know what you want us to cut on or keep on. But if we'll double check with you guys before we launch it.
So, I mean, hopefully we can announce the space yacht thing by next week. The artwork's being done right now, and we don't want to wait because it does take a little time to create the buzz. So we want to get it out as soon as possible. But within the next like 2 weeks, we're gonna definitely announce the partnership with Space Yacht. It's a huge one. I've been working on this partnership for a long time now. I mean, I kind of represent Space Yacht in Asia, so it was a no-brainer to work with them. But it was very lucky that Space Yacht's been in Web3 even before me. Like they were on Nifty Gateway, like selling art and stuff, and access tokens, like way before like the NFT boom. So they understand it. They're like, we're Web3 people. We're just really happy that San is doing something different, and we would love to work with you guys. That's kind of like the conversations that we've been having the past year. And when I was in LA last time, we kind of locked down the deal. And it's huge. It's huge. I mean, they do 200 plus shows in the U.S. alone, a year. So it's getting them, getting access to them, and they're already breaking artists, left and right. They have this weekly Twitch show where they, people send in like demos live, and they like kind of go over like new music and sign them straight onto their to the label. Like, I mean, they're already doing essentially what we're trying to do. So it's like it kind of just like. So it's a perfect marriage between our two entities.
Mm-hmm. So now I got to ask real quick. Now there's an Edge 1 private key and an Edge 2 private key. What's the difference? Do they get you the same access?
So it's the same thing, and like you don't have to worry about that. What I would say is that like edge traits are one of the kind of like legacies of the broken rarity that we kind of did. A lot of the most successful and like high rarity stuff in the whole collection, like tigers, for example. Tigers are ranked relatively low by the trait sniper, rarity sniper sort of things. And in order to fix that, we'd have to pay like several ETH. So we're not going to do that. And one of the things that is really interesting about it is that if you have an edge trait at all, it's an edge trait 1. And then if you have 2 edge traits, it's an edge trait 1 and 2. And if you have 3, it's an edge 1, 2, and 3. And so it's just a sort of a thing of that. What's funny though is that like almost all of the super high rated stuff all have 3 edge traits because it's really rare to have like 3 edge traits. So anything that's in there will be rare by default. So it's kind of funny because it breaks the rarity system a little bit.
Okay, so with this being so low, but still having the private keys, those are probably some pretty good scoops.
Yeah. What is it? What are they at? I can't see.
0.069 ETH and 0.043 ETH, and the other ones are higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, floor on the private key is usually pretty strong. It's look up Arthur trait and see
Arthur
what the floor is for that on any of the edges.
Arthur 0.119 on edge 1, Arthur.
And then edge 2, Arthur.
I'm
If there's
so
any
mad. I
available.
minted 6 of them, and none of them have a key, a private key. So now I'm gonna have to look for some new NFTs to hunt.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
I have
those two you guys pointed at, I mean, those are good snipes right there.
Yeah.
Especially the
Yoni, I'll get one, you get the other.
Okay, deal.
Or get both of them and I'll pay you. We'll save on the gas fees.
There we go.
Cool. All right. So now I want to start going towards the conclusion of this real quick. But before we do, I want to start off by asking, so like you guys, there's a huge vision here. And you guys have the team to make it all happen, right? Now, I gotta ask, like, this isn't cheap, everything that you guys are doing. So do you guys have a good amount of funding pulled together for all this? Or what's your strategy been in order to get the funds necessary to be able to really create this whole vision?
So we were bootstrapped by us as founders. Back whenever I invested, which was like, geez, Kaku, that was like a few days after the like Proof and all them joined the team. And that was like after ETH Denver, whenever y'all were talking after the Oni event, I invested during the family and friends round. And like back then, it was just all a bunch of the founders came together, put some money in together, and that was it. And that got us to the point where we've been able to deliver headphones to people. We did the free mint. We got like a couple $100,000 in trading fees, like royalties. But now, that's not something that you can ever depend on again. Royalties in general just are kind of going away. And we've pulled in a little bit more with like the soul binding fees and everything, and we've managed to get all of these different partnerships together. We've managed to get delivery out to the 33. We've managed to get delivery out to like strategic partners and ourselves for these to make sure that like people are enjoying them, being able to test them, and get them into hands so that people know that they're real. And it's something that we have. And this is one of those things that I'm actually trying to phrase around. We have secured funding and we are waiting for the details to be settled out regarding it between multiple parties. So, or in layman's terms, we have mommy and daddy are fighting over whose house we get to go to for Thanksgiving and Christmas, if that makes sense.
Okay. And at ballpark area of like how much funding you're looking at?
7 figures.
7 figures?
Yeah.
Okay. Higher end of 7 figures, lower end of
lower end of 7 figures.
Okay.
But
Cool.
it's like that's by choice.
2 million, 3 million.
That's by choice, right? So we're trying to do the lower end of that because we're being very cautious with how much of our equity that we're giving up, and then specifically how many voting shares that we're giving up. Because it's very important that like Kaku remains like creatively and vision wise in control. And so that's something that we really want to make sure that like the ethos of like why we're doing everything and who we're doing these things for is never changed by any outside party, no matter how excited we are to work with them. It's something that we've said to them as well. So it's something that they respect.
Okay.
That's actually very, very encouraging, because a lot of what I see today is a lot of these venture capitalists invest into many of these protocols, which then it almost becomes like entirely owned by venture capitalists, and the community has very little say, or they dive into this project and all of a sudden get dumped on by VCs because of that, right? And from what I've seen, based on this interview and what you guys have built, typically in this crypto space, we have a lot of overfunded projects that end up doing much less for 10 times the revenue. So if you can work with what you have and maximize that efficiency, it really just like speaks milestones to what you can achieve as it grows and as you secure more funding along the way. So I like that you guys are also having like your vision not be diluted or be convinced otherwise by bigger venture capitalists, for example, having their say in which way the direction of this place goes.
Yeah, no, we would continue to work unpaid for untold amounts of time before we would ever like change the vision or the ethos behind it. Kaku, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I mean, the history behind San goes very deep, right? I mean, I initially came up with this idea, and I've been friends with DL, David, for many, many years. So my day job back in the days, when I wasn't just purely a musician, I was actually in manufacturing, and David, so Beats and Monster was actually one of our clients. So that's how I kind of became friends with him, and we kept a good relationship for many, many years. So when I first entered the space, like I was like, man, this is like probably the best time for me to do my own headphone brand. That was initially like the idea behind it, right? I was like, okay, how do I make like some like really cool like Web3 enabled like headphones, earbuds, audio products. And I was like, there's only one person that I know that can do this, that can achieve this in SDL. So I kind of like pitched him the idea, and he was like, okay, well, this sounds great, but you need to come up with like a good design that's like, iconic, that's no one has ever seen before. And so around the same time, I kind of reconnected with my friend Brian. I'm Complex, and we've been friends, IRL, just like mutual friends for many years as well. And we kind of reconnected through Clubhouse actually, right? And so I was like, hey man, what do you think about this idea? Can you design something like this? So he gave me this design, and initially it was me and Brian and myself that actually funded like the initial the first like phase of the manufacturing. So it was the three of us, and I obviously we knew that we needed more capital, and I didn't want to take VC funds for that reason that Flu just mentioned. So I took this design, went to NFT NYC, and started meeting people there, and that's kind of like how like I would say the first round of funding like through our founders like came to be. It's just like little by little we picked up like members like Flu, who really like believed in this vision, and yeah, we bootstrapped it, paid for it on our own, and here we are today after like over 2 years now. So
Amazing. Are you guys,
Yep.
speaking of NFT NYC, are you guys going to be doing anything special for that?
For now we are focused on NFT LA. We want to make sure like launch is is good to go. It's people have a good time, and we get a lot of content from it, right? Because right now, obviously, for music, content is king. So it's just getting more people to understand what we're trying to do, and we just throw kick-ass parties, man. That's really like what we're I think is the easiest way to attract new members and people like writing with the song project, right? And then yeah, I mean NFT NYC is a big one. That's definitely not out of the question, but we just want to make sure that we do this LA one first. And then yeah,
Okay.
we'll find the New York one.
Okay. Well, I'll be at the NFT NYC one. I'm speaking over there. So if you're doing something, let me know, and I'll see if I can get the big crypto community involved in it too.
I just want to say yes because we definitely want to be there.
Okay.
And we definitely want to be there, but we just want to make sure that this LA one's so fucking badass that they're like, you guys have to do a New York one.
How
And it's
many
easy.
members?
It's easy with Space Yacht,
How many members are in the big crypto community? By the way, Ryan.
In total, there's about 570 between free and paid. Paid members, there's about 120, would you say, Yoni? And about 73 of them are one-to-one mentorship clients.
Yeah, about you're about right. Yeah.
Yep.
I think we have a
73.
little bit more monthly members for paid, but yeah, in total we have about 570 members on our Discord.
I think we could probably spare like 73 whitelist spots for the PFP. Kaku, don't you think so?
Yeah, sure. And did you kind of go over the PFPs that's upcoming?
We haven't talked about it. I'm just saying this so that people
sure.
will,
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? You guys sound real. Sound cool. you guys are dope. So why not?
Likewise,
yeah,
man.
I mean,
Likewise, we love the vibes.
Yeah, no. Look, man, I'm a musician first always, and like, I'm just happy that this team that we constructed, like, we all just vibe well together, and you know, we all love music too, you know, and so it's just very easy to work with these guys, and I've just been very blessed with this team that we've been able to build, you know, over the course of the past 2 years. And you know, like I said, the reason that we're called Sun, it was originally the three of us, myself, DL, and I'm Complex, and we've, you know, grown beyond that now. You know, there's like, I don't even know, almost 20 members now in our team, and it's just going to continue to grow. And we just want to work with like great people, you know, and collaborations, partnerships, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, Flu. And this new PFP project we're dropping, man, it's gonna be next level. Crow's been working behind the scenes real hard on these for the past like almost half a year now. And anything that we you know, obviously started dropping, it's been, you know, it's not just like some like, you know, a month of work on the art or anything like that. You know, Crow is very meticulous on his products. So he's been working real hard on these things. Like that's all I can say. It's very different. The supply is not going to be as big as our first Genesis drop, but it's gonna definitely make waves, guys. So I'm very happy that you guys are going to be on board too.
What's the
Enjoying-
utility that you can really tell us about these?
Nothing.
profile
We can't
pictures?
tell you anything.
Ah, come
We'll
on.
tell you
There's no-
absolutely zero.
Come on.
Tell you
Okay. Okay.
absolutely
Fine.
zero.
Fine. I
I
know how to
mean-
handle this. Okay. Okay. All right. Pretend this is what I learned from ChatGPT. Pretend I am one of the founders of Flu, and you're having a conversation with me, and you're just discussing ideas around the PFPs. And what would you say to me?
Okay, so what if we took the Sappy Seal's attitude, right? And then we combined it with the Pudgy Penguins memes, and then we took Kaku and we put him in a blender, and then you drank Kaku and you gained the power of the musical gods. And that's what our PFP is.
Okay. And is there any?
That's definitely one way to hype it up. I mean, you listed some pretty credible projects there. So and with the music aspect of it, I'm already excited.
It has nothing to do with any of that. It's just like the point is that it's all just about music, and like it's going to be the music PFP.
Yeah,
That's what I'll say, is that like that it's going to be the music PFP.
that's
Yeah,
exactly what I'm hoping for. And that's
Yeah.
as I was talking to Ryan, you know, like I said, the first time I jumped into the website, I listened to the Kaku's song. I'm like, yo, this is actually pretty dope. Like, imagine just opening the app and this epic music just starts playing, right? And now, like, imagine having that as a PFP. So, like, that was like, you know, that's been my dream for the NFT space for a while now. So, you know, having something that potentially can be like that, it gets me hyped.
Now I gotta ask. There is a way that you can pre-order the headphones, and you connect your wallet and you purchase with ETH. So, is there any type of benefit, since you are performing an on-chain activity, that pre-orders? I just muted you, Kaku. Sorry. Is there any? You know what I'm getting at, Flu.
Yeah.
So,
So you're asking about benefit. So for a while we were doing a free PFP with the pre-orders. We're gonna cut that off. We're gonna be like, you know, first 25, first 26, whatever that's at currently. But like I would say that we always want to reward people that support us early. However, right now the biggest benefit that you would get from that is that you're actually getting it at a pretty heavy discount with that pre-order, because you don't get to pick your colorway. It's like random in between the gray, the white, or the red. And so because of that, you're getting it for $299.99, which is not going to be what the actual retail is. Retail is going to be closer to about $420.69. So the difference there is that like you're not paying full soul binding cost. And for the early adopters, they were actually able to buy with fiat. So I actually ordered one through that site with fiat as well. Actually through this site, because this is actually where this hoodie is from, is one of none. So but that project, that's actually started by like two of Kaku's friends who are ex-NFL players. So it's pretty cool. It's a cool site, and they basically have perfected this idea of like vaulting items and then being able to like be issued NFTs for those vaulted items, and then being able to either redeem them, or if you wanted to after you redeem them to send it back in because you're like getting ready to move or you're getting ready to sell it, or you're like, oh well, I want to go. They'll actually like regrade your item and like make notes about its conditions and everything, and then issue a new NFT for it reflecting that new status of the item. So if
Mm,
you had like some limited colorway, for example, through these, which these are all limited colorways, the ones that are available through that, you would have to be on like the legendary colorways in order to get those same sort of colorways on the actual collection. And there's not that many that are bound of that. So there's going to be a really, really limited supply of those. And this is easily the biggest source for those limited colorways. But
okay.
they're the main benefit of them is the fact that they're cheaper than the soulbound price or the retail price will end up being.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned that there's multiple revenue streams earlier in the podcast episode. So I kind of wanted to see if you could dive into that a little bit further.
Merchandise, merchandise, live events, hardware, software, membership, being like the subscription service for the music discovery, and then other like brand packages and NFT drops, things like that. There's a lot of different verticals there.
Okay. And I want to go ahead and start wrapping things up real quick, but last quick question. Now you have this PFP collection dropping, and it seems like there's some ties that you guys have with 10KTF. So is that just because of Oni Force or something? Or like how did this whole tie with 10KTF come to be? And is there a potential where these PFP collections could actually become one of the parent collections of 10KTF?
So we're not part of 10KTF. We're not owned by Yuga. We're not owned by anyone. We're just owned by ourselves. However, I mean, like 10KTF, obviously very close. Crow works with them occasionally to do stuff. Crow was recently retweeted by Beeple whenever Crow did like a thing of Beeple. It's not really a focus of ours trying to get involved with 10KTF at this time. Because that would require like a whole additional set of like, kind of like story writing and things to like tie those things together and make everything make sense. And right now we're much more concerned about rewarding our early adopters. We're much more concerned about other things that like 10KTF, it could come in time. It's not something that we're focused on at this point. Kaku,
Okay.
would you have any other different guidance on that? I think Kaku probably left.
Okay.
Or he's still muted. He didn't realize he was muted.
No, I'm here. Sorry, I'm at the chiropractor right now. I kind of messed up my back last week, so I'm just kind of signing in. But yeah, I mean, in terms of 10KTF, like a lot of the community members from that project, as well as Oni Force, is just a part of our brand, I guess. So they're pushing for it, but in reality, we're trying to build a brand of our own. I mean, if it comes, it comes, but that's not our major focus right now, really. The one thing that I wanted to add on the music side that I didn't say earlier, once you guys hopefully get these, songware in your ears, all the sound bites are made by me. So everything from the design up till even these tones, like these music that you hear on these earbuds are made custom for Son. So you guys can get excited about that as well.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, Yoni, do you have everything else you want to add real quick?
No, I mean, I see that, Flu is also involved with, Granary Finance. Just want to get a little background on that. And other than that, if there's any ties between, Granary and, Sound, because, for me, I'm a DeFi degen. So like anytime I have some DeFi connections, I have to ask.
Yeah. So Granary was a pretty simple idea as well. I basically joined two like very, very degen individuals and coming up with the initial concept for it, which was our own little trio, right? But those two individuals and I basically were like, what if Geist or Blizz had morals? Sort of stuff, like an Aave fork with a token that like rewards its holders and like return protocol fees, but like how can we do this in like a non super inflationary tokenomics way? And so what we ended up doing is we ended up going live with the platform but not doing a token, And we've never done a token until now, and we're launching it next month in the middle of the month. But that's after having been deployed on 8 chains and still currently active on 7 chains. And the way that I like to describe it is the only way that I want to monetize something is whenever I have something that's like actually worth it already. And that's the way that I think that Son is going to grow, and that's the way that Granary has grown. And so we've actually had a bunch of market penetration for a bunch of different verticals. But yeah, we're doing an LGE this next month, so it's going to be exciting.
Awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like you're taking the natural organic growth with any of your projects that you're doing, which is honestly the right way I see it, and especially when you're trying to have organic growth of community as well. So to have an actual product before launching a token or before launching a sale of anything. So
yeah,
okay,
and
cool.
it's something that I think a lot of people just kind of brush past because they're looking to return, I guess, like it's like the Blur thing where they like rush out the airdrop and everything, and you see the price drop from like 50 cents to 80 cents, or sorry, $5 to 80 cents in like seconds, sort of stuff. And it's like it's one of those things where it's like you really have to like consider your tokenomics for the long term, otherwise you get that kind of scar on you forever, and it's you really can't redo that. So it's something that's worth a little bit of extra caution. I have a whole development team that I work with called the Byte Masons. The Byte Masons products actually live within Beethoven X. That's their Master Chef. That's the Reliquary Master
I'm a
Chef.
fan. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Oath. I'm a fan of the whole Ethos Reserve. I'm a fan of all of that. So I frequently talk about it in our Discord as well. So
yeah. So yeah, I mean maybe Big Crypto, like the whole 500 people, maybe we could work together and offer you all a discount on the LGE. So
Cool.
of course, we
Awesome.
would love that.
Well, cool. Let's go ahead and wrap things up real quick. This podcast has been very, very long, but filled with a ton of juicy information about Sound and the progression of things and really the vision for the whole project. So, real quick, Flu, if somebody's want to dive more into this project, how can they really keep up with things as things progress? What's the best way to really follow you guys and like keep up with everything?
honestly, joining the Discord is probably the best option. Like, sure, turn on your follow for like Twitter. That's great, but like Discord is really the way to go. And a lot of times they'll read some documents and they'll have like specific questions. I'd say read the white paper, but the white paper is like 45 minutes to read. It's not light. I'm sure that y'all read it, or at least one of you did. Whoever drew the short straw. But yeah, just dive into the Discord and just like ask your questions. And we've got a bunch of different commands in there that are really good for doing information at a glance. And then we also have a YouTube channel where we do like tech talks every Friday that actually dive into like deeper subjects. However, if you don't want to buy anything and if you don't want to feel like pressured into anything, dude, just fucking come join us on Twitch. Twitch.tv/SonSound3. And like we've been #1 in the music streaming category on Twitch like multiple weeks. And it's just like we've gotten like 3,000 unique viewers in there at a time. And that's just off of like people vibing and just listening to the music and having a fun time and doing that. And I think that's really the easiest entry into the ecosystem is just come hang out with us on Twitch. It's going to be tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thursdays, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, and just come hang out with us on Twitch.
Awesome. Cool, guys. So we're going to go ahead and close things out here. Flu, I really appreciate you guys being here. And Kaku, you just took off a little bit early, but I hope your chiropractor appointment's going well and your back is healed up very quickly if you're watching this later. But for anybody that is new to Blockchain Insight Group or Big Crypto, we are a crypto and NFT focused community that's really here to be your guiding light in this dark, cavernous, mysterious, sometimes treacherous crypto world. So we do have our own crypto Discord community where we are constantly helping individuals and pushing out alpha on a daily basis around the DeFi world and NFT world. And we also have a one-to-one mentorship program where we get everybody caught up to date with all the things crypto so that you guys don't feel like you're gambling in the crypto world and you truly feel like you're investing. and you also feel safe and secure with your finances. So we're going to sign off here. And if anything else, if you love this interview, go ahead and give us a subscribe so that you can see the next one. See you guys.